When you meet the woman you have a connection with, she easily separates herself from the pack. If she is not separated from the pack, then there is not a connection there.
Wow.
All right? So if you're ever in a situation where you're contemplating between multiple different women, I'm going to tell you to choose none.
Ooh.
All right? Because none of them have a connection with you, or you have no connection with them. And the connection has to be a two-way thing. So yes, if not one of them stands out from the rest, don't do it. None of them are for you. They're all logical choices, maybe. And in your mind, you found all the reasons why you like them and this could possibly work. But again, without a genuine connection, it ain't gonna work. It's gonna blow up in your face at some point. So no, none of them are for you. Keep it moving.
Start over, Hafiz.
Listen, you're not gonna do this to me on this show. I am simply asking questions that I know some of our listeners would want to know about.
Oh my Lord.
Oh man, no, that's really good. That's really good. And so you would say in that situation, since he's wrestling with those two, not even
Neither of them. The only, I mean, I'm gonna say again, I always believe in praying about things.
Yeah.
So if I'm speaking to him, I would encourage him to pray about it first. But aside from that, I would lean towards neither of them are for you. Or at the very least, it is not time to make a decision on either one. And you're not going to be able to think more clearly by continuing to deal with both of them. You need to step away from both of them. Because in stepping away, if now you're not finding yourself like, damn, maybe I need to get this one back, this specific one, not both of them back. If you're still talking about getting both of them back, again, then it's definitely neither one.
my G.
All right? But if one of them is not separating from the pack, even in you separating yourself from them, then they're not it. They're just not it. They're just good candidates. And listen, great woman doesn't mean the right woman.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we're going to meet a lot of great women. I meet great women all the time.
Yeah.
I don't make her the right one. You know what I'm saying? So we have to be mindful of that because, again, a lot of dudes people have this perception that it's women always getting burned in marriages. Nah, there's a lot of men getting burned in marriages. A lot of men are marrying the wrong woman and have not learned how to properly evaluate and determine who they should spend their life with. So men got to be mindful of that stuff too. And if there's not a connection there, don't do it.
You know what? Because I was that connection point is really interesting.
Yeah.
Because I remember I was reading this article a couple of years ago, and the article asked women, like in the 1800s, something like that, like if you met a guy who was financially stable, yet there was no financially stable, emotionally stable, spiritually stable, all that stuff, and yet there was no connection, would you marry them? And a lot of women back then said yes. And you ask women today, like if he had A, B, C, had all those things, but no connection. And a lot of women said no today. So that connection that you're describing is so important, right? But have you noticed that with certain women, they usually only find those connections with the wrong men? Like a lot of women, I hear them tell these sad tales about, their past relationship and the times they were in love, and it was usually a guy who was no good for them. Have you experienced like those stories a lot?
I've experienced those stories, but again, I think you're falling for the lie that there was a connection there. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these situations, and again, I understand that the average person doesn't know how to evaluate when someone is lying. One of the reasons I'm a coach and that I do what I do is because I feel like God gave me this gift to see through people. And I can read you despite what you want to claim to me. So you can tell me I love him, I this, and I can be like, no, you're lying. But not even that you're lying, you're not seeing this correctly. You're not understanding what's really going on here, or you're not willing to embrace the truth, because embracing it means you got to let go. And you don't want to let go. All right. But yes, a lot of these situations where the woman had this horrible relationship or these bad dudes, there wasn't a real connection there. Now, again, I'm not saying there never was. In some situations there is, but in most of them, no. In most situations, women's selection process of men is horrible.
And that's interesting. I'm sorry for cutting you off, Stefan, but like, but it's funny because I was just thinking about that the other day as well. Like, women talk about their intuition and like, oh, we have this sixth sense and we can just tell things. But then when it's coming to tell the right guy, you fail. Like, how do you?
So here's the thing.
Yeah.
So here's the funny part about that. Their intuition isn't failing. They're not listening to it.
Okay.
They knew he was the wrong guy. See that, and that's why I'm telling you, like, so you'll have a situation, let's say, and it's crazy. I've met women who been married 20 years. All right. And when we go back to before they got married and I asked them certain questions, it comes out that they knew he wasn't it. But they try to make it work anyway.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? And then when you're that deep in, you don't want to tell people, I always knew. But now that we're at the end and everything blew up in your face and I know how to pull that out of you, you admit to me. Or I had situations where one time somebody let me read a letter that the person wrote them before they got married. They were married for 25 years. After I read the letter, I said, why'd you ever get married? It was clear in the letter y'all weren't for each other. But you still forced it. And for 25 years, people on the outside swore they were a happy couple. It was one of the most dysfunctional, miserable relationships out there. So many people are fronting. It's ridiculous. So we're being fed lies about it's love. No, listen, a lot of times when you see these relationships be dysfunctional and fail, and people say love just didn't win. No, it's because love was never there. All right? And so love wasn't what was driving your relationship. So that's why it failed. Love can conquer all. It really can, but it has to be real. It has to be true. And people aren't operating in love. They're operating in infatuation. They're operating in fear. They're operating in not like there are women out there, believe it or not, as much as women say they want this great man, there's women who don't believe they deserve that great man. But they don't say it to you.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? They say it when I get them one-on-one and I'm able to break them down or I'm able to pull out of them the truth of what's going on. And a lot of women feel inadequate when it comes to that great guy, which is why you see a lot of women run from the great guy and run to the wrong one. And then claim it was, it wasn't connections because you were afraid to be with that great guy. It scared you. It made you too vulnerable. And also it made you feel like you were not at a level that would be good enough for him. But with that wrong guy, where you feel like you better than he is, you feel safer there. It's almost like he has to appreciate being with me. Whereas the great guy, this man got too many options. I can't deal with this. You see what I'm saying? So there's so many other things going on behind the scenes that people aren't being honest about that contributes to all these situations and why people make the choices that they make. But it ain't about love and connection. Trust. A lot of people are not operating in love and connection. A lot of women, again, their intuition told them this dude wasn't it, but they did it anyway.
It's like that Drake line. I led you on, but you followed.
Wow.
That's
Man.
crazy. Listen to your intuition.
Yes.
Man.
What you thinking about, Hafiz?
So what? No, I mean it's just that. I mean that point is really good, and so I want to give some of these women some of these help. Let's say there's a woman out there right now who's dealing with that, who's feeling inadequate, who's feeling not good enough. Like, how do you usually? I know you can't give all the free stuff away, but how do you usually coach them up to make them feel healthy, to make them feel whole, to make them feel confident?
Well, we got to first find out what hurt their confidence, what robbed them of that self-esteem. So everyone's situation is different. I've had some clients where, and I've said this before in some videos, where the father would tell them they're ugly. You know what I'm saying? So the root issue was what their father would tell them. Not everything piled on from there.
Yeah.
It could be from heartbreak. It could be from certain lack of results in their relationship. Some people, listen, and I'm going to be honest, this doesn't sound good, but I'm just going to keep it real.
Keep it real, please.
Some of our lack of confidence is because we aren't where we need to be. And what I mean by that is, all right, if you're presenting yourself in a way that doesn't gain people's interest, and I'm not saying we have to live to gain the interest of other people or the approval of other people, but you don't even like what you see in the mirror. All right? So we got to fix that. You know what I'm saying? There's so many different aspects to why your confidence isn't there. And some of it will be changes that you have to make to yourself. All right? I think sometimes we get caught up in love yourself, accept yourself. Yeah, love yourself. Embrace who you are. But recognize your flaws and be willing to do something about it. Don't this whole flaws and all, take me as I am.
Take me as I am.
And nobody's taking you.
Yeah.
So guess what? Something needs to change. So I think in some situations, yes, we do have to be willing to embrace that we need to evolve as people and we need to improve certain aspects of who we are and how we present ourselves, because all of that plays into us being confident and us getting the relationship that we want in life.
Man, it sounds like it has to be like not complete, but almost complete man and an almost complete woman to know exactly what they want to really make things work?
I'm going to say you have to have a complete foundation.
Okay.
You don't have to
Explain
be
the foundation.
Okay, so my thing is this. Like I said earlier, a man doesn't have to be rich and super successful, but you have to have a foundation of ambition, a foundation of hard work, a
Gotcha.
foundation of embracing responsibility, a foundation of knowing how to communicate. You understand? Like there's certain things that have to be in place at its core.
Gotcha.
Now, it doesn't mean you have to be rich or that you have to have everything perfect, that your body has to be a 10.
Yeah.
That's not what's required, but do you have the foundational qualities to have a great relationship? And even in our body not being a 10, are you at least working towards being healthy? Are you taking care of yourself mentally and physically? Because again, now you can get a relationship without any of that stuff, but will you be happy in the long run? Will you be with the right person? Will you be able to sustain this? What's the point of getting a relationship if it's going to fall apart 3, 4, 5 years from now?
Yeah.
If you're going to be miserable later, if you're going to end up being attached because you have kids with someone that you never belonged with, there's no point in that. So we need to stop being afraid to take more time for ourselves and actually work. See, people love to say, I'm working on me. Well, what the hell are you doing to work on you? All right. Like, tell me exactly. And then when you ask them that, they can't even tell you what they're working on.
Yeah.
Like, no, let's actually work on us. Let's actually work on, if you have an attitude problem, fix it.
Yeah.
If you're not being as motivated and ambitious, fix it. If you're not taking care of yourself, fix it. Let's actually do these things. And then you'll be surprised in that process how you will naturally start attracting high quality people your way. Not just for romantic reasons, even for business reasons.
Yeah.
Things start coming your way when you start taking care of you. You know what I'm saying? So I think more people just need to really actually embrace that and not just talk about it.
It's like, hey, why you looked at me?
No, I'm just saying that was good.
That was really good. I
Yeah.
think foundation is key to everything. I mean,
Yeah, because to that point, I was thinking about that as well. Because when we talk about being whole, like it's not you're perfect. Because I think a lot of people may misconstrue that. They may be like, oh, like I'm not whole because I don't have A, B. Like, no, you're like it's not about being perfect. But I love the point that you made about this progression, about you're on this journey, that you have this desire, that you have the end goal in mind as you're taking your everyday steps. And I think that's something that a lot of people aren't doing. And even to your other point, I know I'm being a parrot right now, but to your other point about like, I feel like so many people are looking for the right person, but like you said, they're not even the right person themselves. They haven't healed themselves, and that's the interesting thing that I feel like happened, you know, in our lives kind of this year. You know, one of the emphasis was, you know, growing and maturing and getting better and being better leaders and learning how to talk better and learning how to, you know, live by ourselves. You know what I mean? Be more responsible. And, you know, I could say it's been a pretty decent. Yeah. But another question that people always ask, how do you feel about close friends of the opposite sex when you're in a relationship? How do you feel about that?
So
but he said he just
I'm very skeptical
very
of it.
skeptical.
And when I say very skeptical, it depends on the dynamic.
Okay.
Because I have a lot of close friends, a lot of close female friends. Okay. But we don't speak every single day. We don't hang out all the time. Like it's genuinely like a brother-sister type relationship. It's all love. If I had a girlfriend or I had somebody in my life, they would meet them. Like, and it'd be a very transparent situation. But you got people who have these opposite sex friends and they want to keep them away from their partner. That's red flag number one.
Okay.
All right. Like if that's your friend, they gotta be my friend too. And I'm not saying my friend, like we gotta hang out and talk on the phone, but you better be able to walk in my house and show me respect, say hello, dap me up, whatever. Like there has to be some kind of rapport there. If there's not, then yes, I do believe that there's something going on there. Why are you hiding this person from your partner? That is an issue. There is something wrong there. So I think, again, it depends on the dynamic. Also, how often do you speak to this person and interact with them? Like, I think it's very dangerous to where we want to, when we hold on so dearly to our friends as our best friends, we neglect making our partner our best friend. And when we lack that with our partner, we hurt the relationship. So the partner has to be best friend number one. All right. Doesn't mean you can't have other good friends, best friends, or whatever. But there has to be a best friend number one. And I guarantee you, if your partner's your best friend, you will naturally gravitate more to them than your friends. But what people are doing is they're using their friends as buffers. And what I mean by that is you in this BS relationship with someone that you don't have a genuine connection with, but you tolerate it because you get what you need from your friends. Your best friends fulfill you emotionally to where you can deal with your BS relationship. You're using them as a cover up. You may not be maliciously, consciously doing that, but subconsciously, that is what's happening. Because I guarantee you, remove those friends, you will not last in your relationship another few days. Because now their weaknesses, their flaws, their things that irk you are going to be magnified. But you can ignore that when you can run to your friend, run to your friend, run to your friend. It is a form of detachment from your relationship. So in that case, it is unhealthy. So I think we have to evaluate each situation. It doesn't mean that there aren't genuine friendships out there, the opposite sex, that people have while in a relationship, but I would argue that a lot of people, there's some things wrong in those situations that need to be corrected. Doesn't mean you gotta stop being friends altogether, but there's some things that need to change and boundaries have to be set.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You gotta have boundaries in your relationship with your friends once you are romantically involved with somebody.
So let's say there was a woman whose boyfriend had a close female friend and she didn't like it. Do you think she has a right? Let's say it's a close childhood friend. Do you think that she has a right if she doesn't feel if she feels uncomfortable in that situation to tell him that I don't want you being that close with that person?
To say I don't know if she has I don't want to say she has a right. I do think that she should speak her honest feelings.
Okay.
And if she is uncomfortable by that person, that other woman's presence, she should say it. But I'm going to tell you this, when people take it there, it's usually not because of your friend, it's because of you. They're seeing something in you that makes them feel insecure about your relationship, quote unquote, with this other individual. So you have to ask yourself, what am I doing to make her feel insecure about this? And I guarantee you, if you correct those things, it changes how she will perceive that relationship. Now, yes, some people are just insecure because they've been through some stuff. They haven't healed. So anything that looks fishy to them, they're going to jump on.
Yeah.
But in a lot of cases, we're behaving in a certain kind of way with this person and trying to force our romantic partner to accept it. Hell no. Like my female friends know. Or I used to tell my female friends, if we're talking, let's say 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, yo, you realize when I get with someone, ain't gonna be no more 2 o'clock conversation. All right, like all this is gonna stop. You're gonna respect my girl. Like that, there's gonna be a way. Again, boundaries have to be set. If you set those boundaries, your girl won't probably have any problem with your female friends. But you wanna still act like you were when you were single with your friends, now that you're in a relationship. Nah, bruh. There's gonna be problems. There's gonna be problems, and it goes both ways, men and women.
Yeah, it's like that movie Brown Sugar. You seen Brown Sugar?
I've seen it a long time ago, but I love those movies. What? You don't love those movies? Love Jones, Brown Sugar, Loving Basketball?
I saw Poetic Justice and I thought it was kind of boosted, but that's another conversation.
Okay, wrong.
I think kind of boosted. I think I was just like,
What happened in Brown Sugar though? You just brought it up.
But I mean, that's how like the relationship was. Like he had a childhood friend, and they was. Is that the right movie?
Was that Loving Basketball, Chris?
No, bro. It was like he married.
Was it Tyra Banks or was it Gabrielle Union?
No, Lord.
But you know what? Notice in most of these movies, they end up being in love with that best friend, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, yo, it's always something like that, and that's what I'm telling you. And when someone has such a hard time either letting go of someone or at least putting boundaries around someone, something's up. Something's up.
Yeah, it was Shania Nathan was in it, but it was not Loving Basketball. She was like a hip hop person, and she wrote to nobody. I think Taye Diggs was in the movie.
That was probably Brown Sugar. It was Taye Diggs.
See what I'm saying? I know I'm not crazy.
But no, that's a really good point, man. So you're saying that, obviously out of respect to have that conversation, but it should be more of a red flag to you if they're still so closely tight and intimate with that person.
Well, not that it's just if they're unwilling to create some separation there. Like, again, I'm not saying I'll let go of your friends, but my goodness, you're in a relationship now and you have to have boundaries. If you're not even willing to set the boundaries, yes, something's wrong. And it may not be that you're in love with this person, but maybe you have this attachment to this individual that is unhealthy. You can have unhealthy attachments to your friends too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And again, if you have that level of attachment, it's going to have an impact on our ability to fully embrace if we have one, hopefully we do, our ability to embrace our connection. Or again, it may be evidence that we don't have that connection. Because when you have a connection with someone, you gravitate to them.
Yeah.
It is a natural thing. It's a natural force. All right. So if you're gravitating more to your friend than your partner, you ain't got no connection with your partner.
That's what happened in
and that by itself. So at that point, it ain't even about your friendship that's the problem. It's the fact that you don't have a connection with your partner that's a problem.
Man.
It's too much, man. It's hot.
This is good.
Right,
This is good. And one of the things I think I really liked about your whole message and what you're trying to do, like I said, you have a great range. You can talk to people who are spiritual, you can talk to people who are not spiritual, people who are seeking God, people who are running away. You have the ability to talk to all people. So let's go for a second to those people who are, trying to do better, who are trying to actively seek God and who are trying, to live as right as they can possibly do. And they want to show affection in a relationship, but they don't want to make it sexual. Because, I mean, it's for spiritual reasons also, like, creating sexual connections can, blind you to other things that are important. So they want to show non-sexual affection, but they still want to keep the romance. They still want to let the person know they care. So what are some of the ways for both men and women to show affection to their partner without it being just the usual sexual Netflix and chill moves?
Well, first you got to be honest with yourself about what you can handle in those acts of intimacy without it getting sexual.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like, I'll be real. I'm the type of person, if we're alone and we start getting all touchy-feely, I'm going to have a really hard time not wanting to get sexual. Whether that's wrong or right, it is what it is at the moment.
That's real.
So you got to be real with yourself, because you got people who want to be, and to me, abstinence is a great thing, and I think more people should do it. But you got people who are trying to be abstinent, but they want to be very affectionate, and it creates a problem.
And affectionate, you mean physically or the whole
physically
thing?
affectionate?
Okay.
So I do think, though, if you want to be affectionate and intimate without it getting sexual, you got to date during the day.
Yeah.
All right, don't date at night. Because it's real easy when we go out at night to say, let's go back to my house or your house or whatever.
I'm only 2 miles away.
Exactly. And then it escalates.
I got some wine.
Exactly. Yo, go have
candles
brunch.
lit.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So make it a brunch date, a breakfast date.
Yeah.
Do things during the day. That increases your chance of things not getting sexual. Yeah. Keeping your intimate moments in those public environments. Not that you need to be all slobbing each other down in front of an audience, but hugging each other, whatever, in that daytime environment, again, less likely chance of it leading to something sexual.
Yeah.
So I think doing things like that, being in more group settings, having, if we're dating and we're all a group of friends and it's like a triple date or whatever, again, we're not going to get sexual in front of everybody else. So it's another safeguard to, we can still be affectionate.
I think you meant the sexual of everybody else dates.
We can be
Nice
affectionate.
try,
and you know what? The good thing about it is, we can all hold each other accountable in that group setting. So it's like we can be intimate together while we're there, but then if we notice one of our friends talking about, let's go back. Exactly. It's getting too much. We can point it out. We can correct each other.
Yeah.
So I think those things will help in allowing you to be affectionate, but not getting sexual. But again, you do it at night or when you're alone in the house.
Yeah.
Even if it's daytime, if you are alone in the house together, that's trouble.
Yeah. Is there like poems? Like, is there certain things that?
I mean, you can do so as far as
I'm sorry. Hafiz in the poem is just hilarious.
Yo, I'm a poem kind of guy, bro.
I know.
So yeah, in regards to non-physical acts
You don't got a
of
lot
intimacy,
of moved in the bag, man.
no,
My
poems.
bag is just fine.
But you know, it depends on the dude. I mean, so if you're a poem dude, then yeah, write your poem.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Another dude might want to send a mixtape. I don't know, like
Yeah.
whatever you like or the ways that you like to express your love.
Yeah.
You can do all those things. And I think just being chivalrous as a man is always a great way to showing interest and showing a level of kind of affection without being physical with it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Not even just so opening her door. A popular one that a lot of men don't do is when you're walking on the sidewalk, number one, don't let no woman walk behind you.
Yeah.
All right? She needs to be walking either next to you or in front of you. You know what I'm saying? If you are walking on the sidewalk and there's a street, you have to keep her away from the street. So be in between the street and her. You know what I'm saying? And these are things that when you do that as a man, women will notice because the average man doesn't do it. All right? So you immediately stand out in those small moments of doing very simple gestures of chivalry.
Yeah.
So I think pulling her chair out at dinner, you know what I'm saying? Like those little things go a long way, and they're sweet little moments that she's gonna remember. So I think those are good things that men can do.
What about women?
Women? That's the problem. I think with women, like there is no women chivalry, so to speak. But I would say if you're a woman,
I mean, showing affection.
but I'm saying like if
Okay.
for the non-physical thing. So
Yeah.
if I open your door, even though we really don't make a big deal of it, but reach over, like once you're already in the car as a woman, reach over and open his door from the inside.
Ah.
That shows him you
That would
care
throw
about
me
him
off.
too. You know what I'm
Like,
saying?
what would you doing?
I've had women do that. That's a
Yeah.
sweet thing. That's a simple thing you can do.
Yeah.
Shoot, simply showing appreciation
Yeah.
when we do something nice. So when we open the door,
Kiss me on the cheek. or
yeah,
something.
there you go. And say thank you. Like, yo, when men are appreciated for the things they do more of it.
Yeah, that's
All right? So as a woman, you have to always be, if a woman comes into it with the mentality of, well, that's what you're supposed to do, you're lost.
Yup.
You're done right there.
Yeah.
All right? So I would
supposed to do
encourage,
this? Okay.
exactly. I would encourage women to show appreciation for all the small gestures, all the nice little things. Don't mean that you got to jump all over him every time he does something good, but
Which is
saying
okay as
thank
well.
you. Saying thank you, kissing on the cheek, things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
You know, all that stuff works well. You know what I'm saying? I think that shows affection. And just being willing to create contact, I think, also. Again, it doesn't have to be sexual, but even just rubbing his shoulder, his back, that shows us, oh, okay, you are feeling us like that.
Yeah.
So I think all those things would help for a woman as far as being affectionate without being sexual.
No, that's really good.
And also being very, words of affirmation and saying sweet, positive things. So, yeah, you might not write us a poem, but you can say some positive, sweet stuff to us.
Yeah.
You know, we need that too. So I think, being very mindful of how she speaks to us goes a long way.
Yeah, I like, I see you. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a really good one because I think so many women and men as well are used to the only way they know how to show somebody they care, and the only way they know how to show affection is sexual.
And then also, like, they use those sexual things as well to receive validation. Like, okay, she actually likes me because she's doing X, Y, and Z for me.
Yeah, and that was something that I was talking to somebody about. I was curious to certain women who are used to only receiving affection sexually. We talked about this the last time as well, but certain women who are only used to receiving affection sexually. What would happen when they get into those relationships where the guy, is trying to abstain and, trying to, out for spiritual reasons, to do what he feels like is right? And how will she receive his affection now that she's only been used to it in a sexual manner? And I was wondering that would certain women feel as if the guy does not care for her? And in that situation, would you suggest either talking to that woman and explaining it to her? And if that doesn't work, would you suggest just like not even being with that kind of person?
Yeah. So, one, yes, there are women who would think you don't care about them. There are women, unfortunately, who would think you're gay, all right, if you don't make a move. So I think what's important for the dude is that you got to be very transparent about where your head is at from the jump.
Yeah.
So she understands. Like, if she doesn't know that you're abstinent, if she doesn't know that you have this vow that you made to God, or whatever reason that you chose to go on that route. Or maybe you just don't want to jump on sex too quick because you're really trying to make sure you're getting into the right relationship.
Yeah.
If she doesn't understand that, then you leave it to her to interpret why your lack of action exists, why you're not making your moves. So talking to her about it early on and letting her know where you stand will help eliminate that issue. Now, if you have that talk and she's still feeling some kind of way because you're not making moves, hell yeah, leave her alone. She got issues. No disrespect to those women, but I'm just being real. And again, it doesn't mean that you can't entertain her one day. It just means that right now, she clearly needs to heal or reprogram her mind from what she is accustomed to. When she is ready to embrace how you're gonna do things, all right, then y'all can come back and try again. Until then, don't get caught up in that because it's gonna drag you down, it's gonna frustrate you, and this whole thing's gonna blow up in your face.
And when it blows, it sure does blow. When it sure does blow. So what would you say is the, not one piece of advice, but something that from your experiences in your own personal life, but also from your experience of counseling others, is the thing that's helped you the most and you've seen it help people the most? What is that piece of advice that you're like, man, like I've seen this right here has helped the most people from my experiences?
Healing.
Yeah.
Healing from your past. That's the number one thing.
Yeah.
You know, trying to make yourself better without healing is like how they say you're putting lipstick on a pig. You know what I'm saying? Like you got all this nastiness and junk going on within you and you're trying to pile on all this good stuff. It's not going to work like that. You got to clean the bad stuff out first. It's like a detox. You can eat right all you want. You can take a bunch of supplements right now. Your body can't even process all the nutrients from the good food and the supplements because it's still filled with junk and nonsense from all the years that you mistreated your body. So in order to really get the benefit, you have to cleanse yourself first. So healing is cleansing spiritually and emotionally, and it's getting all that bad stuff out. Now, when you feed yourself the good stuff, oh, you're gonna feel it.
Yeah.
And it's gonna make a huge difference. And you're gonna be in a 10 times better place. So to me, healing is definitely, without a doubt, the number one thing people can do to change their life and see a huge improvement. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. So I do believe in falling in love.
Okay.
But I do believe that people have the wrong perception of what that is. Because some people, what they're calling falling in love is becoming attached. You know what I'm saying? And